what is sometimes difficult for the companies in our space to address, and that is, in the case of an enterprise, sometimes the predictability and the forecast is a lot easier to do because you can look at patterns, right? You can see how people are moving. You can actually look at how end users are consuming YouTube videos, for example, right? And then you can project, let's say, the growth and what your network's going to need. When you look at the broadcast side, more along the lines of what Mark was saying, it has to be instant. And what's difficult, and if you go to your finance guy, I mean, they hate that part of the business, unless your margins are huge, because you could have, for example, in our case, we did for a large international broadcaster, we covered some very extreme games in the southern part of Brazil. And so you're in this little village, basically. It's great territory, but you're in the middle of nowhere. And the entire state is using maybe 500 megs of capacity. The entire state, because you have people that have slow internet connections. It's in a developing region, so not everybody has an iPad, etc. But for this particular venue, you needed several gigs. And so then you sit there and you go, wow, I need to string a network that maybe goes somewhere from like LA to New York through the middle of the jungle at a huge cost. And it's not just one, because you need to create a mesh, you need to have 3 different routes, you need to do all this stuff. How do you justify it? And then, of course, like what Wes was saying, it needs to work flawlessly for 4 days, 5 days, a month. And then after that, you're sitting there with that investment. So what do you do with it? And so building those cases is very, very difficult. Yet the market is going into that burstable, whatever burstable means, direction. And so I think we're at a phase where all of us are learning to address and deal, let's say, with that unpredictability. And then how do you justify it? So it's a challenge. I think, again, broadcast, very different from, let's say in particular, seasonal events, very different from enterprises where you can really sit down and say, wow, I just closed this deal with this very large company, a global enterprise maybe, they want to do telepresence, I need X number of bits, whatever this is, gig, 500 megs, whatever it happens to be, between these sides. I can sign a 5-year contract or a 3-year contract. I recover my investment, and I'm going to provide the best quality ever. But for these smaller type events, or the 4 hours, or let's say the Super Bowls, it's a tough business.
But I think that also extends, though, into the consumer side over the internet, that difficulty and complexity. So, if ESPN wants to stream a World Cup game over the internet, there is no real forecast there. They'll say, I can guess how many people are going to turn up. I can guess how many people want to stream it. And over time, I think they'll get better because they'll start to understand this market. But we're in such an early stage at the moment that some of those large events that are streamed live on the internet are very, very hard to predict and very hard for companies like ourselves to put the infrastructure in place and guarantee that it's going to be there and guarantee that there's going to be a really good customer experience to any consumer anywhere in the world. So, I think that piece is interesting as well in terms of figuring out how much storage, how many servers, what type of stream rates and stream options that we're providing. It's a challenge.